Yo, what's going on, everybody? Luka Doncic is a Laker. It is still crazy to utter those words. For the sake of time, I'm just going to get right into things and talk about how do we help Luka between now and the trade deadline. This is kind of going to be all over the place. I need to upload this quickly, so there are not going to be a lot of heavy edits on this video. And I'm just going to dive right into five different trade options that I think the Lakers could look at if they choose to use their 2031st first round pick before this year's trade deadline on Thursday. Luka Doncic just had his presser with Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka mentioned that he's not sure that they're actually going to use that pick unless they get a starting level caliber center. And we're probably looking at more marginal trades between now and Thursday. But having said that, I'm going to go ahead and just assume that the Lakers will use their 2031st first to help build out the best possible roster for Luka and LeBron for the rest of this season, but also moving forward. So with that said, please don't hammer me too much on these deals. I was not able to prepare enough. I'm just rushing to get this out before anything changes in the NBA landscape. So, with that said, let's get into some trade packages between now and Thursday that I think would help the Lakers get a starting caliber center, as well as some other pieces they need as well. Don't get too caught up and focused on the logistics of the deal and whether or not it's realistic. I mean, to some extent, some of these deals are realistic. But just go on this journey with me, and let's just get started before I keep rambling. So, for my first deal, let's talk about a deal with the Toronto Raptors. So, all of my deals today were done through fanspo.com. And so, let's really quickly look at this deal. The Lakers would be sending out Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and a top three protected 2031st first round pick. And the Lakers would be getting Jakob Pertl, Ochai Agbaji, and Garrett Temple. Garrett Temple is just there for salary matching purposes, but I think this deal sort of helps the Lakers in multiple ways. One, they get a starting level center in Jakob Pertl, who's still on for the next 3 years. And if you don't like Jakob Pertl, the Lakers can use his salary for another trade in the future. But the Lakers will have their starting caliber center for this year and onward. And then they also get a nice flyer on Ochai Agbaji, who's a very intriguing, fluid, versatile shooting guard slash small forward who's 6'5", good size. He's built like a rock. He can score. He has shown some flashes defensively this year as well. And yeah, the Lakers get a young player in return. I think if the Toronto Raptors can get the Lakers 2031st first, I think they would be willing to move off of Jakob and even Ochai Agbaji. So I added that top three protection on the first round pick just in case. Maybe the Toronto Raptors would want us to unprotect that. I think that's a little too rich, but I think this helps both sides, fulfill both sides' wants. And the Raptors could actually use Rui Hachimura and sell Rui Hachimura to their very international fan base and team as well in the interim. So, yeah, so that's my deal, my first deal. Raptors, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, the first round pick for Jakob Pertl, Ochai Agbaji, and Garrett Temple. What do you guys think about that deal? You could also do another scenario of this where you swap out Ochai Agbaji for Davion Mitchell, who would kind of replace Gabe Vincent as that 3-and-D guard off the bench, but Davion Mitchell is a better playmaker than Gabe Vincent, so that would actually, in my opinion, be an upgrade, even if you're losing Gabe Vincent's experience. But you could also tinker with this Raptors deal in that way as well. But yeah, so there's my first deal with the Toronto Raptors. Now let's move on to my second deal. Okay, this one features the Brooklyn Nets, and this would have to be a three-team deal at least because there are a lot of moving parts on the Lakers' end to make this work to match salaries. So don't get too caught up in the logistics. But in essence, the Lakers would be trading Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood, Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes, and an unprotected 2031st first for Nick Claxton and Zaire Williams. Nick Claxton is on for the next 4 years, but his salary actually declines. By year 4, I think he drops down to like 22 million or something, which is very helpful for building out a team and roster construction. And then Zaire Williams is just a very defensively versatile wing, 6'9", who's improved as a shooter this year. He's been killing it with D'Angelo Russell on the Nets this season. And yeah, he's expiring 6.1 million, so the Lakers will have to figure out how to re-sign him as a restricted free agent next season. But to get Nick Claxton and then also get another wingish sort of defender who can also maybe play shooting guard to replace Max Christie, I think this is all you can ask for when it comes to the Lakers trading their 2031st first round pick. Now, again, the logistics of this deal are kind of funky. Like, it's unrealistic for the Lakers to trade out 5 players and only get back 2. And then what are the Nets going to do? Maybe they waive Christian Wood and Cam Reddish and Jackson Hayes. Essentially, they're going to need to be a third team where the Lakers send out a second round pick to make this all happen. But I do think if both sides wanted to make it work, just like they made the Luka deal work, they will make it work. So that is my second deal with the Brooklyn Nets. An alternative to this deal that's more realistic would be the Lakers getting back Nick Claxton and Day'Ron Sharpe instead. Now, because we're not getting Zaire Williams, who I think is a more higher upside, versatile player than a Day'Ron Sharpe, who's redundant to, the centers that we have on the roster, or not redundant, but we have a lot of centers if we take back Nick Claxton and Day'Ron Sharpe. If this is the case, I would add a top 3 protection on the 2031st first. But essentially, Rui, Gabe, Christian, Jackson go out, and then we get back Nick Claxton and Day'Ron Sharpe. And that is a very solid front court that the Lakers can use. And it's a front court with different skill sets as well. Nick Claxton is the lob threat. He's the more mobile, athletic and explosive big, while Day'Ron Sharpe is sort of the bulkier Dwight Howard-ish big, who's actually pretty explosive as well, and he can move his feet pretty well as well. But Day'Ron Sharpe is the beefier, bulkier big that we want, while Nick Claxton would be the lankier, longer, but more explosive vertical threat. So you get 2 different sorts of centers in this deal. The Lakers would obviously then need to sign some point guard help and insurance on the buyout market. But yeah, that would be an alternate to my Brooklyn Nets deal. Now let's move on to my third deal with the Orlando Magic. So I don't know if the Orlando Magic would do this. They have been slipping in the standings. They may want to kind of pivot. They did sign KCP to a 3-year, like $65 million contract. Who knows if they have some buyer's remorse? But let's say the Magic are willing to slightly pivot while still maintaining their compete now path. So in that scenario, what if we trade out Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood, Cam Reddish, and a top 10 protected 2031 first round pick, top 10 protected, and we get back KCP, who's making $22.7 million this year and is on for the next 2 years after that, and Goga Bitadze, who's on a very reasonable $9 million per year deal over the next 3 years. And obviously, these are not high ceiling, high upside players, but they do sort of allow the Lakers to really compete now and over the next 3 years. And Goga Bitadze is, youngish enough where the Lakers might be willing to sacrifice their first round pick. And I made sure that it's top 10 protected for this very reason, because we're not really getting, a young player back in this deal with a higher ceiling. But I do think it's kind of splitting the middle, hedging a little bit with regards to allowing the Lakers to compete now, compete next year, while also taking into account that maybe KCP is declining and he really was pumped up by playing alongside Nikola Jokic, although you could say the same thing with him being back with LeBron James and Luka Doncic. So yeah, I think this one's an interesting deal where on the surface, it's like, why would we trade a 2031 first round pick for an aging KCP who's already in his 30s, I believe, and Goga Bitadze, who's like a serviceable backup big who can start for you in a pinch, but isn't exactly like proven. Well, I don't know. The Lakers would be, banking on a little bit of upside with Goga, but also the surety and reliability of KCP. And yeah, that's why, again, there's a top 10 protection on the 2031 first round pick. But yeah, I'm kind of intrigued by this one. All right, let's move on to my next deal. I think this is my fourth deal. And this will be with the Atlanta Hawks. So This one's kind of interesting. The Lakers would be trading Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood, and a top 8 protected 2031 first round pick for Clint Capella, who's on an expiring $22.2 million contract, Garrison Matthews, who's on an expiring $2.2 million contract, and Kobe Buffkin, who's making $4.2 million this year and has 2 more years after that. Kobe Buffkin was the guard in Jalen Hood-Schifino's draft that the Lakers were very highly coveting because he played for Michigan, Rob Pelinka's alma mater. But Kobe Buffkin is out for the season. He had like season-ending shoulder surgery. So he would be more of a play for next year. But this is another 2 timeline sort of trade where I don't know if I'd actually even trade Rui Hachimura straight up for Clint Capella, just that deal alone. But given the Lakers' needs, I think Clint Capella would help them immediately right now. We'll figure out what his contract looks like later. And then to also fulfill that, well, we're not going to trade a first round pick if we're not getting a young player. Well, that's where Kobe Buffkin comes in. Hopefully he rehabs this year, gets better, and he's ready to go next year. And then all of a sudden we have our versatile 3-and-D, shifty guard off the bench for the future alongside Luka Doncic. So I don't know if the Atlanta Hawks would actually do this, but it's something that I would inquire about. Like, if we're going to give up our first round pick and Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent, and we're only getting back an expiring Clint Capella, who the Hawks were going to give away anyways, we better be getting back a young prospect. So give us Kobe Buffkin. And then we also get Garrison Matthews, who's a very solid 6'5" shooting guard who can space the floor. He could come in a pinch if we have any injuries. So that's the Atlanta Hawks deal. I know the Hawks have our pick this year, but I don't think that'll matter if they're getting, off of Clint Capella, getting a flyer on Rui Hachimura. Jalen Johnson is out for the rest of the season for them. So if they actually want to keep competing, having Rui Hachimura there as forward insurance in Jalen Johnson's absence, I think would actually help them. And then, they also get a 2031 first round pick from us in return as well, even though it's top 8 protected. All right, for my last trade, let's look at a trade with the Portland Trailblazers. So this one is a little bit weird, but essentially we've got Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Christian Wood, and a lottery-protected 2031 first round pick going out for Robert Williams, Matisse Thybulle, Duop Reith, and Ryan Rupert. So obviously, Robert Williams is probably the highest upside defensive center that the Lakers could trade for. But he comes with a ton of injury risk, which is why I'm making this first round pick that we're giving them lotto protected. So it will not convey if the Lakers are sucked that year, Luka has an injury, and we're in the bottom 14. But I do think Robert Williams at this point is absolutely worth the risk because of his insane defensive acumen and upside when he's healthy, when he's playing. He is so explosive on both ends of the court as a shot blocker and rim protector, but also as a lob threat and putback guy. He's strong, he's physical, he's got an insane 7'6" wingspan. We're definitely risking it with Robert Williams, especially if he is going to be our starting center. But I think he's worth the risk at this point. And in this deal, we would also be getting Duop Reith back. So Duop Reith would help us out with another front court look with regards to having a spacing big. And Duop Reith is more mobile. He kind of will fill that Christian Wood role. So Duop Reith, Robert Williams, and Jackson Hayes, it's still not too inspiring a front court core. But if you keep into account that we also have Christian Koloko and Trey Jameson as break glass in case of emergency options, I think the Lakers can make do with that. And then Matisse Thybulle, he hasn't been healthy all season, but I think at some point this year, he'll get back into shape and be ready to play. And Matisse Thybulle is on for this year and next year. So Matisse Thybulle is still young enough to, I think, invest in even past this season. And when he's healthy, Matisse Thybulle, I know he has problems offensively. He can't really space the floor. But defensively, Matisse Thybulle is such a bull with insane motor. He can lock down positions 1 through 4. And if you're looking for the perfect Max Christie replacement, just if you're looking at the defensive side of things, that's Matisse Thybulle. And so I kind of like just taking a flyer Matisse Thybulle for next season as well. And again, you get Duop Reith and you get a flyer on Ryan Rupert, who was the, I think, like 43rd pick of the Blazers this past season, past draft. He's a 6'6 shooting guard slash wing with some intriguing versatility defensively. He's got really good measurables and a really good wingspan. So, yeah, the Lakers would get a flyer on a wing. So yeah, that's my deal with the Portland Trailblazers. And so yeah, those are essentially my 5 or 6 deals with 5 different teams that I think the Lakers should maybe inquire about if they do plan to use their first round pick between now and Thursday. Realistically, though, yes, they're probably only going to make a smaller move with their lone second round pick. I don't know how they're going to do that. Maybe they will cut some players and sign some other guys on the buyout market. We will know soon enough. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below which deal out of the ones that I've presented that you like the most. And if you have one of your own, make sure to put it in the comments below as well. And please do me the huge favor of clicking subscribe on this channel. That would really help me out a lot. But yeah, with that said, this has been Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy Podcast. I will catch you guys after the trade deadline and after we see Luka Doncic officially don the purple and gold. Luka Magic. It's crazy. All right. See you guys.